I got great news for people taking isotretinoin, also known as Accutane, or people thinking about taking it. If you're not really familiar with isotretinoin, it's a last line treatment for stubborn acne and it's very effective. But it has all these very serious side effect concerns about depression, mental health, suicidal thoughts, and even suicide itself. This drug is very regulated. You have to go through this program called iPledge, and every month you need to log in, answer questions talking about what the side effects are, what you need to do to make sure that you understand the risks and that you're taking precautions not to get pregnant while on the medication. It's a whole thing. And there are all these isolated cases and small studies that talk about the potential of depression and suicidal thoughts. But now researchers combine this massive amount of data to shine a light on these claims. They analyzed 25 different studies involving 1.6 million participants. So this was massive. This was not a small study like the ones that were talking about depression and suicidal thoughts. And the goal of this study was to see if isotretinoin actually raises the risk of suicide attempts, or other psychiatric disorders. So let's see what the data actually says. 1 year absolute risk, complete suicide, suicide attempts, suicidal ideation, and self-harm under 0.5%. That is very low. And for depression, the 1 year risk was 3.83%. So what this tells us is the risks are very low to the general population, and they're even comparable to or lower than the baseline levels for the teen population. But this study didn't just stop there. So they also compared isotretinoin patients and people that did not use isotretinoin. What's interesting about it is that people that were on isotretinoin after the treatment, they were less likely to experience these suicidal thoughts than the general population. And that's pretty crazy. And also, isotretinoin was not associated with the increased risk of psychiatric disorders. And before we continue talking about this study, make sure to like and subscribe so you keep getting more content like this. So now let's try to break down why would somebody be less likely to have these problems after taking isotretinoin than the regular population. And there are a couple of things that could be happening here. The first one is very obvious, and that's improved self-esteem. And if you suffer with acne, you know how hard it is on your self-esteem, especially if you go through that while you're in school, while you're in your teen years. If you don't feel good about yourself, if you look in the mirror and you don't want to get out of the house, like you have 10 new zits that came up today. I've had that happen to me. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to record a video the other day because I had a huge zit over here and I couldn't put makeup on it. So I can totally understand how this could make somebody fall into depression or more serious problems. And a reason why the results of this study are so different than the ones done previously is that if the patient had prior psychiatric issues, those folks still had elevated risk. So it could be that on these previous smaller studies, they didn't really account for people that already had psychiatric disorders. So it seemed like it was all because of Accutane. But it's important to say that for some rare individuals, this drug can still cause some mental health problems. So it's always important to talk to your doctor. It's important to have someone that watches your progress. But for the general population, this should not be a big worry. When I started taking isotretinoin, my mom was calling me and she's like, there's risk of depression and this and that. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I know so many people who took it and none of them had these issues. My doctor had to have this disclaimer, please let me know if you're feeling down, if you feel like a mood change. I never felt that. And now this meta-analysis shows that it's very rare. It's not common at all. Still worth paying attention to because you never know if something is going to be different for you than it is for most people. So it's good to pay attention to those things with anything you take. If you're interested in taking Accutane, or if you're taking it and you still want to know more, I'm going to add here my playlist that has all the videos I've done on Accutane. There's everything you need to know there, from how it works, side effects. I have my Accutane survival kit there with all the skincare products I use, plus other things. And it's important to know these things. When I started Accutane, I did extensive research. And it's funny because I have a friend and she told me that when she did Accutane, she did not research at all. And she did a bunch of things wrong. and now she's worried about how her acne can come back. So it's important to know these things beforehand or while you're doing it so that you can make sure that your treatment will be successful and it will last. If you're taking isotretinoin or you know someone who's taken isotretinoin, I would love to know in the comments if you've ever seen or experienced the mental health issues that are associated with this drug. I personally know a lot of people who took it and never seen it happen. So if you can share that, it's just for my little curiosity here, because according to the study, it's just so improbable, 0.5%. I'm just wondering if anybody that experienced this will land on this video. Before you go, make sure to like and subscribe so you keep getting more content like this, and I'll see you when I learn some new stuff.